culture. Classic pop culture.
Hi everybody, this is Steve Ludwig, host of Steve Ludwig's Classic Pop Culture and the Beatles Hour with Steve Ludwig at planetludwig.com. Here's an interview we did with Rudy Ramos on February 3rd, 2015. It's from show number 75. To hear the entire show, check out the menu at planetludwig.com. And now, please enjoy the interview. Hard Knocks and Bad Times, Rudy Ramos. And in the background, you can hear Apache Mountain Spirit song. Geronimo was probably the most well-known Apache in American history. And just before we speak with Rudy Ramos, I'd like to play a minute clip of Mr. Rudy Ramos on stage as Geronimo. And this is Geronimo telling about when his family was massacred by the Mexicans. Here's Rudy Ramos as Geronimo, Life on the Reservation, and then we'll speak with Mr. Ramos.
In 1858, when I was a young warrior, Mexican troops raided our camp near the border town of Llano. At the time, our men were away, trading in one of their other towns. They killed everyone they saw. I lost my mother. My wife, Lope, and my 3 children. They were helpless. There was no need to do that.
That very dramatic presentation from our next guest, Mr. Rudy Ramos. That's from Geronimo, Life on the Reservation. We're going to talk all about that stuff that we listened to before. First, though, however, let me welcome to the show Mr. Rudy Ramos. Rudy, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Steve.
May I call you Rudy?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
I've been called a lot worse.
Join the club. And we've survived it, so, you know.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
You have such a rich background, Rudy, and I certainly want to touch on that a little later on, but can we please start off with this magnificent, wonderful one-man show you're doing, Geronimo, Life on the Reservation. Before we even do that, I want to let all our listeners know, go to GeronimoLifeOnTheReservation.com to get all the information about where it'll be playing, to producers, to book the show and things like that. But anyway, Rudy, why don't you please give us a little background about Geronimo, Life on the Reservation?
Well, it's a one-man show that I had created for me based off of an idea that was put into my head about 30 years ago by my friend Michael Martin Murphy, the singer-songwriter of the
sure.
Wildfire and
Yes.
Geronimo's Cadillac. And one night after a concert of his in Ventura, California, I'd say it was about 30 years ago, we were talking about me being born and raised in Lawton, Oklahoma, which is connected to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is where Geronimo spent the final 15 years of his life, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, as a prisoner of war, and he died there. So Michael suggested that I read a book that was called Geronimo, My Story, and it was written by S.M. Barrett and was published in 1906. And to my knowledge, that is the last time that he ever had a voice. Michael suggested I read the book, write a one-man show, and that I should play Geronimo. Why? I don't know. It was 30 years ago. I was a much younger actor than I am now, because now I'm playing him as an older person. And again, to my knowledge, no one in the history of American theater has ever played Geronimo at this stage of his life. The final
Yeah.
23 years when
Okay.
he was a prisoner of war.
Mhm.
So, long story short, a few years ago, a second cousin of mine got a hold of me, and we had just caught up, hadn't talked since we were little kids. She happens to be a book writer. I was telling her about this, and she's never written a play before, but she said that she would like a shot at it. So she sent me a script, and I liked it, and asked her if she would be okay if I did some editing with it, because I could see the core of the story that I wanted to tell was there. And so we did. And then I started working on it. I brought my friend for 40 years, Steve Railsback, from
Sure.
played Charles Manson and Harold Helter Skelter.
Oh, you were in that movie as well, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I
Yes.
played the biker, Danny DiCarlo, his buddy. We met 40 years ago, right before the filming of that, and we've had a very close friendship over the last 40 years. So I asked him to come on board as my director, and that's probably one of the wisest things I've ever done, because this would be this show has gotten, and my performance has gone to levels I never imagined, and it is because of his eye and his touch. I mean, I really don't like using the word genius about someone, but that's how I have to describe his eye and his touch. He sees things I just don't see, and
Well,
he says things to me that I tell him I would never think of, and he says, yes, you would, but I don't agree. I wouldn't. So he's taken me to a level that was just I'm so happy with. And right now we're at the White Fire Theater in Sherman Oaks, California, and we've had 6 shows to do, and each show the audiences keep getting bigger, and all the audiences love it, and then I'm going out on tour. That's a little background. That's how it all started.
That's what
from Michael Mark Murphy.
You're a wonderfully humble man, Rudy, because I'm going to read some of the reviews of your acting in Geronimo Life on the Reservation. Rudy Ramos is an amazing man, an incredible actor, and we all felt as if we were in the presence of Geronimo. Rudy Ramos puts you there in body and soul. We felt Geronimo's pain, his struggles, his grief, and his dignity, which never left him throughout his difficult life journey. Rudy personified the truth of this history. What's it like being in a one-man show, first of all, Rudy, playing such an important figure in American history?
Well, I have never done a one-man show before, so it's weird. It's strange.
It's totally you, Rudy. It's all on you.
By yourself.
Yeah.
But it's very fulfilling, and also I always come from the point of view that I am giving Geronimo a voice he never had.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel an incredible responsibility to tell it honestly and truthfully, fact-based, and bring his spirit through me,
Mm-hmm.
as the instrument in telling this story. And that's what I do. I tell the story. I am talking to my audience, and I feed off of them. And it's been an amazing journey here, because I've probably been in 6 or 7 states now with this show, and every audience, their eyes are on you from the moment I come on stage. And one of the things you go into something like this is thinking is I don't want to lose anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly don't think I ever have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at them, and they are looking at me, and even when I walk off stage and I have a wardrobe change and I'm back, they don't make the sound. And some audiences, you don't know how they're feeling because they're different, but then when the show is over, boy, they let you know. And each show I've done in every state, every city, has all ended with a standing ovation. So the audiences love the show. I get a lot of feedback from people who say, I didn't know that. I get a lot of feedback from teachers who say, not only is this a great performance and a great show, it is a wonderful educational tool.
Yeah,
this show.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I know your show travels throughout the country. This would be wonderful for schools. to present this play also.
This show has a lot of potential surrounding it. I think that high schools and colleges will eventually be interested in this. I think that it possibly has potential to be on PBS, HBO, Arts and Entertainment. One of the
absolutely sure.
And I'm not suggesting or promoting myself. I am really allowing this to lead me. I am not trying to lead this project. I'm just following it wherever it takes me. My main objective has always been and will always remain wherever people want to hear Geronimo's story and wherever I am welcome, that's where I will go. I raised the money to put this whole project together from the Kickstarter program. I raised enough money to rent rehearsal space because I'm not associated with a sponsor or any corporation. I'm not associated with anybody. This is all through me and the people who were kind enough to donate to this. And I have in mind an amount to take it out on an initial tour. And fortunately, I raised that money. I think that I've spent it wisely. That money has now been spent with these 6 shows in Sherman Oaks, California. That was the end of it. So now the show, and I don't want to go through another fundraising thing again. I think it's time for me and my show to stand on its own. So that's what we're doing. We're saying it's going to pay for itself, or I'll have to start paying for it. Not every wife, but my commitment is that strong, that serious to continue to tell his story wherever people want to hear it.
We and that's wonderful. And I remember as a student, as a kid in school, and this happens with so many figures in history. You see that black and white picture in the history book, and that's it. They don't seem even like real people. But from what I've been reading and the things I've seen you in performance of Geronimo, what can you tell us about Geronimo the person? Because he seemed to be multifaceted, even with as far as a sense of humor and things that you maybe naively you wouldn't expect of Geronimo.
He has been a real lightning rod with Native Americans, with Indians, in that, a lot of people love him, but a lot of people didn't approve of him because he was making it bad for all Indians because he was fighting. But the thing that is always overlooked, and it's been put into us through stories in our history books, he was the bad guy. Well, there's 2 sides to every story. And I see another side. I see a man fighting for his people. I see a man fighting for his culture, his way of life. I see a man fighting for his land. Now, if somebody came into your house and ran you out and said, "This is mine now, I'm taking it," that would probably rile you up a bit, wouldn't it?
Of course.
But it would certainly rile me up, and I'm the kind of guy that I would fight back. And that's what he did. And the settlers came west, and they just started taking all of this land, and then they started making deals and promising and this and that, and they were lied to over and over and over again. So, of course, when somebody came in and tried to take his land, he fought back.
Yeah.
And that created a lot of problems because he was the last one fighting. And it took 2 countries and 2 armies to finally get him and 10 years to finally get him to surrender, and he surrendered on his own terms. And then those terms were not fulfilled.
What were the terms that he wanted? What were those terms?
He did not agree to spend the rest of his life on a reservation as a prisoner of war under the watch of the soldiers, the guards. They were promised land that they could live on and be free. That never happened. It didn't, and it's not just the Apache. It happened to all tribes.
Yeah.
Yes. And now people say, well, they need to stop complaining. They need to get over it. They got all that money.
Goodness.
They got a place to live. I mean, I heard that growing up. I'm from Lawton, Oklahoma. There are all tribes in Oklahoma, and especially in the Lawton area between Lawton and Anadarko. I grew up. I experienced racism because I'm Mexican. I am full-blood Mexican. But at that time, if you were brown skin and black hair like me, they just assumed you were Indian. So I know how they were treated because I was treated that way too. They didn't even know what a Mexican was where I grew up. And, it was, you were definitely a second-class citizen. And to hear people these days say, they need to get over it. I'm sorry, I got issues with that. I got a problem with that. And it's, telling this story is not just in support of Geronimo or Native, or the Apache tribe. It is about all Indians. All Indians. I've had Indians of many tribes who saw this show come up to me with tears in their eyes and say, "Thank you. That's the most wonderful feeling in the world." And I've never run into anybody that just came up and said, "You know what? I'm going to kick your ass. Shut up." I've not run into anything but love and understanding from this project. But it also speaks to anybody who's ever been wronged through racism or racial prejudice. I think it touches everyone. What happened to the Indians happened to the blacks. It happened to the Jews. It's genocide. It was genocide. They just went in, the settlers. I won't say the American soldiers because it wasn't even a country when this all started. It was the settlers who came across the seas who started grabbing the land. And then eventually it became a country, and they came west, and it continued all the way across the country. And many, many, many Indians were marched to their death and exterminated. I have issues with that. So I like to tell, wherever I am welcome, this story, and it's fact-based, to my audiences, which I hope and have so far have experienced are intelligent people. And I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I just want them to hear another side of the story and let them make up their minds. That's all I'm trying to do, is just tell his story. And so far, I was fortunate enough to have the money to go out and do this, and it just seems to be getting better and better, and I'm getting more invitations to come here or there. I just try to, use my money in a wise way where I can go to a certain area, fly in, play several cities at a time in that area, and just make one plane trip from here to Texas, or from here to, I will be at the Memphis Film Festival later this year as a guest, and I'll be doing my show there. So it's kind of taking on a life of its own, and like I said, I'm just following it wherever it takes me. I'm just enjoying being able to tell this story, feel like I'm giving him a voice, and I'm loving the reaction to it. It's been nothing but love and respect. You hear the story and you see that he was just a real person who was very, very passionate about his people, his land. A lot of people don't know that early, as a young warrior, Geronimo was out trading in another town with the men, and I think that was in that clip that you started the show with, that the Mexican troops raided their camp and killed his mother, his wife, and his 3 children.
Now, Rudy, forgive me if this sounds rhetorical to you, but you were in an ensemble of short eyes that won the Los Angeles Drama Critics Award for Best Ensemble. So you've been on that side of acting with the stage. Is it naive for me to ask, what is the difference between working in an ensemble and a one-man show? Or is it apples and oranges? Can you even compare the two?
Yeah. In an ensemble, you have other people to lean on, and you're working together as a unit, and you create that life and make it believable. Like Short Eyes was a prison drama,
right?
And I was a young actor, and it was my first play, and I was thrown in with some very, very experienced actors who were a little bit older than me, and it was. I really depended on them, but I had a very shiny role that really kind of drove. And I played a young kid who
Cupcakes.
was in prison with all these guys, and the character's name was Cupcakes. He was
right.
young, he was good looking. Everybody wanted to mess with cupcakes and
Mm-hmm.
it's jail. So he really kind of drove that energy. Really kind of drove the play, and I have that kind of energy. So we worked well together. It was probably 10, 12 of us, all in the prison day room. So here, I don't have anybody to feed off of other than my audience. So it's just, somebody described it. They said, it's an amazing show because there's really nothing but you, a costume, a chair, and a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And to make that interesting is very hard, but it's working.
Yeah, and Geronimo was such an interesting man from what I've, at least what I've read about him.
And it's true. It is true, and I've tried to really bring all of that out in my performance, and I get a lot of comment on that too. There was a lot of different sides to Geronimo. He was very smart. He had a sense of humor. He had an ego, like we all do, and he was used to getting his way. And when he was in captivity, he still got his way. He didn't just do something because he was told to do it.
Yeah.
So he's very, very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of colors in him, and I've really tried hard to bring out all those colors in his personality.
We're speaking with Mr. Rudy Ramos, magnificent actor, great one-man show, Geronimo, Life on the Reservation. For those interested in seeing the show, booking the show, go to GeronimoLifeOnTheReservation.com, and you can get information there. Also, RudyRamos.net. Rudy, I want to continue talking about Geronimo, Life on the Reservation in a bit, but can we go back to earlier in your career for a few minutes and just touch on a few highlights that I'm interested in asking you about? Well, of course, first of all, I think most of us met you on TV as Wind in High Chaparral. What was it like working with Leif Erikson and the guys on High Chaparral?
Oh, it was an awesome experience. I was a young actor. It was my first job. It was a hit TV series that had been on for 3 seasons, and then they added David Dortor, who was also the creator of Bonanza, decided to add a new character to the show. They wanted to get a little bit younger, and he created a character, a half-breed Indian boy, Pawnee, and his mother was Pawnee. His father was a white man, and they called him Wind. And I was fortunate enough to get that part, and that was, going into a hit series. A lot of focus is put on the new character, so there was a lot of focus put on that, and it was a wonderful experience. Number one, I was learning on the go because I had never done any film. I had only had a few years training on stage, but I hadn't even done a play yet. I was just well trained. So it was wonderful because I was with some very savvy veteran actors like Erikson, Cameron Mitchell, who's a legend,
Sure.
Henry Darrow, who's a wonderful, very, very serious actor. They were all very serious actors. And then the Bunkhouse Boys, who had, they were in every episode, and they were the co-stars. They were all veteran actors too. So I really was able to, and they embraced me from. And Linda Crystal.
Oh, sure, of course, yeah.
I mean, they're all very, very fine actors. So everybody just embraced me coming in. Cameron Mitchell really took me under his wing, and really guided me, mentored me. He was my on-set mentor for acting, but also off-set. He became my friend and really guided me and shared a lot of his life experiences with me, as did Linda. Linda was, wanted to make sure that business-wise, I had everything in place and was not going to be taken advantage of. So, Leif Erikson, I didn't really get to know him very well until we were finished filming because he always dealt with me in character. We would go to the set in the morning, and the limos would pick us up, and he would say hello to everybody. Hello, Henry. Hello, Cameron. Whoever. And then he would look at me and he would say, "Wind."
Ah.
Just nod his head and say, "Wind." And I always found that interesting, but I never took it personal. And then when I finished my last episode, he let go and showed all the love that Life Erickson was about. I mean, that's a perfect name for him, Life.
Yeah, right, sure.
He was a big guy, and he was full of life,
Mm.
and everybody loved him. But Cameron was just. I'm so lucky to have known him. I mean, he taught me so many things, from acting to gambling. we used to go, when we were in Tucson, Arizona, go down to Nogales and watch the dog races. He taught me how to bet and what to look for in dogs as they were coming out, like the horse races. So, and of course, all the guys on the set, they when you're on a movie set or a television set and you're working together for months at a time, we worked for 6 months at a time, they like to play practical jokes on everybody. Well, guess who was the target?
I'll bet the kid.
The kid. And they always call me the kid. And I'm good with jokes. I would laugh at them too, although they were always on me. They would do everything from, pull a chair out from under me as I was sitting down, to I wore moccasins with long laces on them, and I'd be sitting in a chair kind of just relaxing a little bit, and somebody would take such great care to crawl under my chair unbeknownst to me and tie them together, and then pretty soon they'd say, "Okay, Win, we're ready," and I'd get up, and of course I would trip because my laces were tied together, and everybody would roar. And it was okay with me.
They wouldn't have done that if they didn't like you, though, right, Rudy?
No, they wouldn't have, and they did. They from all the way across the board, they embraced me, and that's really hard. When you've got a hit show and then you bring in somebody new. They didn't know me. I didn't know them, but they embraced me as if they did know me. I was like the child they never wanted. They just embraced me, and even now, to this day, Don Collier and Henry still call me the kid, and they still play jokes on me.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Rudy, we're kind of the same age. I wouldn't mind being called the kid. At this age, I'll take it. I want to talk to you about another. My goodness, your resume on TV alone is incredible. Over 60 TV shows, but a couple of my favorite movies and that you were a part of, Colors and Quicksilver. I have to tell you, Rudy, you played a great bad guy in Quicksilver as Gypsy. What was that like working with Kevin Bacon and Lawrence Fishburne? I mean, your character took Lawrence Fishburne out, for crying out loud. That was really you played a great bad guy, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a fun shoot. We were all young, Kevin and Larry Lawrence. Everybody calls him Larry.
He was Larry in the credits, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. And they're good guys. I mean, they're really good guys. Kevin is just like salt of the earth kind of good guy. I mean, the good guy that you see, if he does an interview or something, that's who he is. He's a family guy. He was a family guy then. He always brought his dog to the set. He always wanted me to ride with him in the motorhome when they would pick him up to drive us to the set, me, him, and his dog. And he always had a banana waiting for me. He'd always hold up a banana and say, potassium,
Oh, tell me about it.
So he's just a good guy. Larry's he's crazy. He's legitimately he's a lot of fun. He's very eccentric, even as a young actor, and he's a wonderful actor, and he's a wonderful young actor, and so is Kevin. And he's just real easy to get along with. He's humble. He's loving. He's just a little eccentric, and you see that in his work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like the commercials and the Matrix and all that stuff that he's done. That's the eccentric side of there, and Quicksilver, he played one of the messengers, and he was, he had a little side business going on.
Right, yeah, sure.
Guy. But, Larry's hip to the streets. He knows the streets, but he's very educated. He's extremely intelligent, and he's got a whole other side that you did not see as a young actor. And as he's gotten older, he's even gotten more powerful, more commanding in his performances, and he is a good guy.
Good.
I laugh because I'm thinking of stories I cannot tell.
They'll be in the book, Rudy. When are you going to write a book for crying? Rudy, when are you going to? Go ahead.
No, especially one in San Francisco, but it was in a restaurant. But
You know, with a rich background such as yours, Rudy, have you ever thought about writing a book?
I have. You know, like with the creation of my play Geronimo, it will be when I meet somebody that I'm comfortable with, and right now nobody's beating my door down, so I don't really know anybody. But, you know, if that's supposed to happen, it will in its own time. But I got an interesting story to tell, and just how it from the very beginning with the acting. I never came to California to be an actor. I came because I was done with Oklahoma, and I came with a musician friend of mine who was also a songwriter, and had a couple of hit songs, and he had just come back to Oklahoma, and then I rode out here with him, and I was working in a shoe store and met somebody who got me into acting. So to the big casting director at MGM, who guided me to my first mentor. It was like, you know, it sounds like the old Lana Turner,
Yeah.
Bob's drugstore thing, but it really happened to me.
And I'm sure. I'm sure in your experience. I'm sure in your experiences, Rudy, too. I mean, you can't say enough about you never know what little bit of networking might do. I mean, you might say one little thing to a person, and then that person knows someone, and they get back to you. Isn't that? Have you found that throughout your career that you just never know? You know, if you have any question, mention something to somebody. You know, say something to somebody.
You're absolutely right, and you know, and I don't really pursue things. It's just when opportunities present themselves. I'm not an opportunist, but matter of fact, when that thing happened with this casting director, legendary casting director, Jane Murray, her executive assistant, I met her. I was working in a shoe store, sold her some shoes, and she asked me if I was an actor, and I said, no. And she said, why not? And I said, well, I'm from Oklahoma. You don't think about things like that. So she said, well, you should be. You know, you have a real strong presence, and you would really happen on screen. I didn't know what that meant, but I do now, and she was right. But I told my friend about it, and she had invited me out to the studio, and I didn't jump on it right away. I just told my friend about it, and he said, man, go. You know, people would give their arm up to the elbow, just walk on the lot at MGM. But I didn't. I waited about 3 months, and then one day I called her, and then things happened after that, which it guided me to Jane Murray, who guided me to Sherman Marks, who was my mentor for 8 years until he died. And he's the one I got all my fundamentally sound training from that I still use today. So, you know, it's just things happen, and if you let them happen, I did. And I've just always followed wherever it takes me. I've never tried to guide my career.
Well, everyone, I'll tell you, Rudy, I'm a former school teacher, and I can't thank you enough for what you're working on right now, Geronimo, Life on the Reservation.com. Everyone, please go to that website, because it's important that we really learn our American history, and it's so much more than what I taught and what I learned in history books. And it's an important play that you're a part of, and I want to thank you so much for presenting that and bringing that to all of us.
Well, you know, Steve, I would also like to say one more thing, too.
Absolutely, please.
And it is thank you for being a teacher. We are losing our good teachers now because they can't make a living doing it. I have so many friends that were all they wanted to be growing up was teachers, and then they became teachers and eventually had to get out of it because they were making more money in their summer jobs and 3-month vacation jobs than they were in teaching.
Yeah, boy, thank you for saying that, Rudy. Yeah.
Oh no, and I'm sincere in that. I mean, just it's like serving. You serve a great purpose, and I do thank you for that, because I had the influence of really good teachers in my life, from elementary school all the way through the 3 years I went in college. I was influenced by these people. I wasn't berated or taken down by these people, and they still have an influence on me today. And I know some children now, and I go to their schools, and I see that they're getting wonderful guidance and care from these teachers who really care. But I also wonder, how long will they do this before the same thing happens to them? Now, that happened in Oklahoma. I live in California now, so hopefully it will never happen. But I applaud anybody like yourself who's ever been in that profession.
Well, thanks. I had great teachers, and I loved school, and I never wanted to leave school, and that's why I became a teacher, because of my great teachers. So I really do appreciate you saying that, Rudy. That's very, very nice of you.
Well, you're very welcome.
And everyone, we've been speaking with Mr. Rudy Ramos. My goodness, we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg on Mr. Ramos's wonderful career. But right now, please, everyone, go to GeronimoLifeOnTheReservation.com. RudyRamos.net for more information. And Rudy, I can't thank you enough. I would love to have you back on the show sometime, and then we'll pick up where we left off, if that's okay with you.
You know what? I would be honored to be on your show again. And the next time that we talk, I'd like to tell you about another project that I was fortunate enough to be a part of when I took a little break from Geronimo.
Would you like to mention it right now?
I would. The singer,
yeah, please do.
The country singer-songwriter Becky Hobbs, who is an amazing songwriter and has had many, many hit records that other people have recorded. Probably 20 major artists have recorded her songs. Has written a rock musical called Nanyahi about a Cherokee woman. And I was fortunate enough to be invited to join that cast for some shows at the Hard Rock Casino in Tulsa this past summer of 2014. And it is a wonderful project that she wrote, and the music is unbelievable. And I honestly think that thing has a chance to make it to Broadway.
Becky Hobbs.
Talk about that. Becky Hobbs. Google her. And you'll see who Becky Hobbs is. She's the real deal when it comes to country. There's not many like her at all.
Google Becky Hobbs, everyone. Google Becky Hobbs.
Becky Hobbs, Hobbs. She's a good old Oklahoma girl, Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and she's special. She is an angel among us. She wrote a song called "Angels Among Us," and Alabama has it as their title cut right now on their new album.
Oh, good for her. Great.
Yeah. That's not the first one she's ever done, though. I mean, if people will Google her, they'll see. But her play is something to keep an eye on.
Great. Once again, everyone. What again? Nanyahi.
Okay. Nanyahi. She was a Cherokee woman, the most honored Cherokee woman of her time, which is in the 1700s. She fought for peace.
Okay.
Among all tribes.
And remember, everyone, Geronimo, lifeonthereservation.com. We have been speaking with the really wonderful Rudy Ramos. I'm so glad I had a chance to speak with you, Rudy. I've loved your work over the years, and to be able to speak with you has really been an honor and privilege for me. And thank you so much for coming on.
Steve, thank you for having me. And anytime you'd like to chat again, I have to be more than, I would be honored to.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to take you up on that, Rudy. Thank you so much.
All right. You guys have a good evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.